Hey everyone, I'm Liz and today I'm going to show you how I made these slipper boots out of crochet. I made these boots with a bunch of twisted cables running up the sides, and I'll show you an easy way to get that look in this tutorial. Some things you're going to need for this tutorial are a slipper bottom for the base. If you want to find out how I made these slipper bottoms, you can click the link on the screen or check in the description below for a tutorial I made showing you how to make your own slipper bottoms out of crochet. Or if you like, you could use a store-bought slipper like this one here as the base of your boots. Just make sure to get a pair of slippers in the right size. I got these in a bargain bin in Kmart. It doesn't matter what the slipper looks like because we'll be cutting off most of it. You'll also need yarn. If you're using a pair of slippers as your base, you'll also need some worsted or Aran weight yarn and a sharp needle to sew a foundation row at the base of your slippers. And you'll need a small crochet hook. I'll be using a size B hook to create a row of loops into your foundation row. Otherwise, you'll just need some bulky weight yarn. I'll be using Loops and Threads Charisma in Northern Lights, but you can use any bulky weight yarn you like for the boot itself. And to work my thicker yarn, I'll be using a size N crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors to cut your yarn. And if you want, you could use a different pair of scissors to cut away the material of your slippers if you don't want to use your yarn scissors. You'll also need a yarn needle to sew in your ends. And if you'd like to follow along, the full pattern for my crochet slipper boots is available in my Ravelry store, which you can find by clicking the link on the screen or in the description down below. I'm going to begin with my Aran weight yarn. If you're using your own handmade slipper bottom, you can skip this step. I'm going to use my yarn needle to sew a line all the way around the bottom of my slipper. I'm going to try to work only into the material of the slipper itself rather than into the rubber bottom of the slipper. Okay, I've gotten all the way around with my lines, and I've sewn in my ends. Now I'm going to cut away the excess slipper material and discard it. And I'm going to be very careful not to cut too much or cut away any of my sewn stitches. Alright, now I've finished trimming my slipper. Now I have this slipper bottom. As you can probably tell, the bulky weight yarn and the end hook is going to be too thick to fit under our sewn stitches. So we need to create a row of loops for our bulky weight yarn. So I'm going to take my size B hook and more of my Aran weight yarn, and I'm going to pull up a loop at the back of the slipper. Then chain 3, and that's going to count as the first stitch of this row. Now I'm going to single crochet 1 and chain 3 into my sewn stitches all the way around the slipper. And this row doesn't have to be exact, just try not to add so many stitches that your row is wider than your slipper bottom. The widths should be pretty much the same. So we created those 3 chains to act as a loop for our bulky weight yarn. Okay, I've gone all the way around my slipper bottom, and I ended up with 41 chain spaces. So to end my row, I'm just going to slip stitch to the first stitch of the row, and cut off my yarn. Now that we've created this row of loops, it's time to use our bulky weight yarn. This is where you'll start if you're using a handmade slipper bottom. So using my bulky weight yarn and my size N hook, I'm going to pull up a loop into this chain space at the back of the slipper bottom. And chain 1. And that's going to count as my first stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet into those chain spaces of the previous row all the way around. If you're using a handmade slipper bottom, it's pretty much the same, except you'll be single crocheting into the back loops of the stitches of your slipper bottoms. The number of stitches you have will vary depending on the size of your slipper bottoms. I had 41 stitches total in this row. Now I'm going to single crochet all the way around for one more row. First I'm going to single crochet into that chain that counted as my first stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet into the remaining stitches all the way around. And I'm going to do the same thing on my handmade slipper bottom. Okay, I've reached the end of my row. Now in this row, I'm going to start making the cables. So I'm going to single crochet until I get to the ankle. The number of single crochets depends on the size of your slipper bottom. But I'm going to start my cables about here. So to make my cables, I'm going to treble crochet around the posts of those Aran yarn stitches from row 2. So to create my treble crochet cable, first I'm going to pull up a loop in the next stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over, and then pull up a loop around the post of that stitch. And then pull through 2 loops on my hook, pull through another 2 loops, then pull through the last 2 loops. And I'm going to do that 3 more times so that I have 4 cables at the ankle of the slipper. Alright, next I'm going to single crochet all the way around to the opposite side so I can do that again and create 4 more treble crochet cables onto the posts on the opposite ankle. And if you're using a handmade slipper bottom, you can treble crochet onto the loops where you worked the first row here. Okay, I've created my 4 cables on the opposite side. Now I'm going to single crochet to the end of the row. I've reached the end of my row. Now I'm going to single crochet until I get around to the front toe of the slipper, where I'm going to decrease 3 times. Okay, I'm at the toe of the slipper, so to decrease I'm going to insert my hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Then I'm going to insert it into the front loop of the next stitch, and I'm going to pull up a loop through both stitches. And then single crochet onto both loops to decrease. So I'm going to do that 2 more times, pull up a loop through the front loop of the next stitches, and decrease. Now I'm going to continue to single crochet until I reach the end of the row. So I've finished that row. Now I'm going to single crochet all the way around for 1 row. So I've finished another row of single crochet. Next in this row I'm going to start to twist my cables. So I'm going to single crochet until I reach my first set of cables. To extend my cables, I'm going to treble crochet onto the posts of the cables from my previous row. So pull up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop around the first cable, and pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Next I'm going to create my twist. So pull up a loop in the next stitch and yarn over. But this time I'm going to skip the second cable and I'm going to pull up a loop around the post of the third cable instead. And pull through 2 3 times. And now I'm going to treble crochet around the cable that I skipped. So pull up a loop in the next stitch, yarn over, and then pull up a loop around the second cable from the previous row. And treble crochet. And finally, I'm going to treble crochet around the post of the fourth cable. And as you can see, this has created a twist in my middle 2 cables. Now I'm going to single crochet a couple more times so that I can start to decrease the toe of my slipper again. This time I'm going to decrease 6 times. So I've reached the front area of the slipper. Now I'm going to decrease just like I did in the last row by pulling up a loop in the front loop of the next 2 stitches. And single crochet them together. So I'm going to decrease 5 more times. Okay, I've done my 6 decreases. Now I'm going to continue to single crochet until I get to my next set of cables. So I'm going to do the same thing, treble crochet around the post of the first cable, skip the second cable and treble crochet around the post of the third cable, treble crochet around the post of the skipped cable, cable 2, and then treble crochet around the post of the fourth cable. And now I'm just going to single crochet to the end of the row. Alright, I've finished with this row. Now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the front again, so I can once again decrease 6 times. Okay, I'm at the front. Now I'm going to do my 6 decreases, the same as I did in the previous rows. And now I'm going to continue to single crochet all the way around until I get to the end of the row. Alright, I finished with this row. Now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the front again, and I'm going to decrease for the last time in this row. I'm going to decrease 2 times. So here at the front, I'm going to decrease 2 times. And then I'm going to continue to single crochet around until the end of the row. Okay, in this next row, I'm going to once again extend my cables and add another twist. So I'm going to single crochet until I reach my first set of cables. Then, just like before, I'm going to treble crochet onto the post of the first cable. Skip the second cable and treble crochet onto the post of the third cable. Then treble crochet onto the post of the skipped cable, cable 2. And finally treble crochet onto the post of cable 4. And now I'm going to single crochet around until I reach the next set of cables on the opposite side, where I'm going to do the same thing to extend and twist my cables. Okay, I've done my next set of cables. Now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the end of the row. And if you want, you could end your work here, which is what I'm going to do with this slipper here. To finish, I'm just going to slip stitch the next stitch at the back. If you like, you could add a trim, but I'm not going to do that for this slipper. But I'll show you how to add a trim later in the video. So I'm just going to cut off my yarn. Alright, I've finished my row on this slipper. Now I'm going to continue to single crochet all the way around for 2 more rows before I do another row to extend the twist of my cables. And I'm going to keep on adding 2 rows of single crochet plus 1 row of twisted cables until I get to the length that I want. You can keep adding rows for as long as you like. I continued for 4 more sets of single crochet for 2 rows and twisted cables for 1 row, so 12 more rows. Alright, I've reached the end of my last row of twisted cables. Now, if you like, you could end your work here and slip stitch to the first row and cut off your yarn. But I'm going to add a row of trim just to give my work a nice finished edge. So I'm going to slip stitch to the next stitch of my row. And chain 1. And I'm going to continue to slip stitch 1 and chain 1 into every stitch of this row. So I've reached the end of my row of trim. So to finish, I'm going to slip stitch to the first stitch of this row, and I'm going to cut off my yarn and sew in this end. And now all I have to do is make a second boot, starting with the exact same number of stitches in my first row of Aran weight yarn stitches, or using a handmade slipper bottom of equal size to make sure my boots end up in equal size. And as you can see, my boots are now done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you want to see the tutorial for my slipper bottoms, click the link at the end of the video or check in the description below to find that tutorial. Once again, the written pattern is available. Check in the description for that link. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe to my channel and I'll see you all next time. Bye!